Afternoon everybody. It's a blowy afternoon high up on the Pembrokeshire coast path, and just out foraging for a bit of salad really to go with my supper. Gonna have a look at some gorse blooms today and maybe some sorrel, and we'll see what else we find. But just have a look around you, it's absolutely magnificent. So first of all, let's take a look at this beautiful gorse bush right next to where I'm stood. It's just magnificent. Such a deep yellow colour, and it's just covered in blossom. I wish you all could smell what I can smell, because it's a sunny-ish day here and the gorse is producing quite a lot of nectar. And the nectar smells gorgeously of coconut, so there's this wonderful sort of warm coconut aroma in the air. I'm going to take a little closer look at one or two of the flowers now. You can see, I hope, that they're shaped very much like all the other flowers in the pea family to which it belongs. It is a legume, and it has nitrogen fixing nodules on the roots, so it's able to fix nitrogen from the atmosphere and enrich the ground where it grows as a result. I'm just going to pick a couple now and try them. Make sure that the full sunshiny coconutty flavour is there. They're really good. Yeah, they're really good. They can be quite bitter if you pick them on a dull day, but these are quite vibrant. Plenty of coconut going on there. So let's get a little bag out and start to pick a few. Just lovely. And that coconut aroma, if it's been in the sun, if you pick the flowers when they've been in the sun, is also carried over into the blossom. And although they taste like pea pods very much, they also have a sort of coconutty overtone, which is very, very lovely. It's really quite an interesting, unexpected flavour as an addition to an otherwise boring green salad. Got to really watch your fingers, because underneath these blossoms are the heavily modified leaves of the gorse, which are actually, they're basically turned into really sharp spiky needles. I hope you can see that there in the camera shot, but if you're not quite careful, you can end up with lots of scratches and maybe make yourself bleed, which you don't really want to do when you're foraging for your supper. But with a bit of care, it's okay. Try not to take too many from one particular limb, and definitely don't take more than you need. It's quite a strong flavour, and also gorse does contain some alkaloids, which are only in very small quantities, but they would be toxic if you ate a large quantity of it. So it's the sort of thing that we're adding for an accent, a bit of colour, a bit of flavour, but you wouldn't want to eat a great big pile of it on a plate, okay? They're a very pretty ingredient, and they will certainly add a splash of colour to anything you put them in or on, really. Really just remember that the flavour is somewhat like a sugar snap pea without the sweetness. It's got a pea pod flavour with a coconutty overtone, and that's what you've got to bear in mind when you're figuring out what to combine it with in any dish. Isn't that magnificent? Max is wondering what all the interest is about, aren't you, Max? You see me eat some strange things. This, by the way, is the Thorning Farm campsite. It's next to the Pembrokeshire coast path, and it's very near Pendine sands and also the beaches at Marros as well. It's a stunning place, and the owners are really doing the right thing in promoting nature conservation. There's lots of skylarks here, for example. Big open spaces that are unspoilt. Lots of it's just unmown and, you know, pretty much old grassland that's just being allowed to do its thing with some gorse scrub coming up in the middle of it. It's really beautiful. I'm just going to give you a quick show around. You can see there are these geodesic domes which you can rent. And Max really loves it too. Don't you, Max? I know. Bit boring doing filming, isn't it? Should we go and play with your ball? Hey, shall we? Find it. Find it. Good boy. Come on then. Come on. You ready? Do you want another throw? Yeah? Okay. Come on then. Ready? Fetch. Good boy. Come on. Right here. That's lovely. Thank you. Brilliant. Good boy. Oh, what was that? Ready? Fetch. Good boy. You want some? Come on. Here we go. Fetch. Find it, find it, find it. Fetch. Bring it. That's it, right here. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Yeah, good lad. Here we've got the young fiddleheads of bracken. This fern is our only UK fern that sort of has this branching habit. Can you see? Most ferns have their fronds kind of just emerging straight out of the soil in a rosette, a bit like the shape of a shuttlecock. But in the case of bracken, it forks like this and branches. And this fern is eaten in some parts of the world, but only after thorough preparation. You have to cook it according to the right methods, and there is pre-preparation before it can be cooked, usually involving soaking it in barrels of water to which wood ash have been added overnight. And if you don't do that thorough pre-preparation, then it is highly carcinogenic, so it can cause cancer in the human body. But it is actually a real staple food in some parts of the world. In South Korea, for example, Japan, parts of China, this is widely eaten, but only after thorough preparation. So much traditional knowledge has been lost. I always think they're real sort of fairy plants, these. Look how thick the branchwood can sometimes be down at the base. Gorse is a really hardy plant. It's got a kind of tight, twisted structure that it uses to keep low in the places where it grows, which are often highly exposed to winds, like here on the cliff tops, or maybe high up on the hills, up on the downs. It's really resilient. It's tough, it's wiry, it's twisted, it's low. And it's got these really, really sharp needles, which means that not many animals can browse on it, but actually goats can. Some types of goats anyway. And traditionally it was baled and used as food for goats in the south of Ireland, certainly. Another plant that's traditionally in flower right now is the tree hawthorn. And hawthorn never makes really a very large tree, but but it can be a very long-lived tree. Traditionally, by now, around Beltane time, it would normally be in full blossom. I guess it's quite exposed up here though. Maybe the sort of colder nights mean that it flowers a bit later. And also it's been a bit of a cold spring actually. The young leaves of this plant, not easy to see in the camera I dare say, are completely edible. Got quite a nice almost hazelnutty flavour about them. So you can sprinkle a few pinches of those into your salads to make them more interesting. And they're very good for your heart and circulation, being rich in flavonoids. You can actually eat the leaves any time of the year really if they're out on the hawthorn, but they are probably at their nicest at this time of the year. Often in books about country folklore and things, we read that people in the southwest of England used to call this plant bread and cheese, but I don't really understand why. There's no resemblance to the flavour of either bread or cheese, but it's still tasty. Yeah, I really like them. Small, takes a little while to pick any number of them though, but always enjoy a few hawthorn leaves. And the young buds of the ribwort plantain, this is the flower buds we're talking about here, with no sort of papery, creamy white petals attached. These are also quite tasty at this stage of growth, but I wouldn't be tempted to try and eat them once the little tiny white petals appear, because they become very astringent at that point. But a few of these tossed into a salad, or maybe even stir-fried or toasted with a little bit of sesame oil on top. Really very nice. This hawthorn's going to be in flower soon. Come on then. That's it. Max! Good boy. You ready for another throw? Yeah? Get ready. Fetch. Is this your favourite game, Max? It's definitely one of them, isn't it? Come on then. That's just magnificent. And hello, who have we got here? This is greater stitchwort. It's very pretty. It's a cousin of chickweed, which is a really great edible plant. This one's of poor edibility. We don't forage for it. We just tend to admire it. God, the smell of coconut is just so heady right now. This whole hillside is covered in gorse and the wind is just full of that lovely aroma. Time for another throw, Max. Good boy. Ready? Fetch. Magical. I can hear the sea now. We must be getting close. Here we got some ground ivy. This is in the mint family, Glaucoma hederaceae, and it's one of my favourite herbs. Not only for flavour, which I think is really lovely. It's a bit like sage, I guess, but also it really helps me with the sniffles from my hay fever at this time of the year. So I'm going to eat a bunch of that right now. I love that flavour. You've got a smiling face, haven't you, darling? That's so lovely to see. You look so happy. Look at these beautiful ferns. Not branched at all, very different shape to bracken. This is heart's tongue. Isn't it gorgeous? Just unfurling, very brand new, these fronds. Traditionally it was used as a herbal medicine for chest problems. Nowadays we don't really use it for anything much. It's just very beautiful to look at it. Gorgeous. And this is male fern. In this really sheltered spot down by the sea, we've got the young leaves already of meadowsweet coming up. Amazing. Max! Good boy. Should we go back and have some food now? Yeah? Okay. Okay. This has just caught my eye. Maybe a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see this. A pair of mating emperor moths. Up here on the Pembrokeshire heathland above the cliffs. Gorgeous, aren't they? Wow, look at those feathered antennae. Wow. And the mating is completed. The female's having a bit of a rest. Not surprised. How beautiful. Just how beautiful. Now this is cuckoo flower. It's actually in the mustard and cress section of the cabbage family. And it's got a bit of a rocket-like flavour. You can eat the flower heads, but you can also eat the tender leaves that you find lower down on the stem, which look like this. They're very, very tasty, so I'm going to add a bunch of those to my salad pile for the evening. And a few of the flowers too, but not too many. We don't want to take too much of this plant because it is a food plant for the orange tip butterfly. And also, as you can hopefully have just seen, a nice bumblebee was making use of the nectar there as well. So we won't take too many, but they will add something nice. Okay. This little spear-shaped leaf is common sorrel. Got a lovely sour flavour, a bit like apple skin. Delicious. You wouldn't want to eat a great big plate full of it because it would be a bit too overpowering. And also it is quite rich in oxalates, which aren't too good for your kidneys, could cause kidney stones. But only if you eat it too often or if you eat lots and lots of it. So we'll add a bit to our salad just to give it some interest and some flavour. The younger, smaller leaves are often the best. Dandelion's good for us too. Rich in vitamin C. Some people find it a little bitter, so again I won't include too much, just a little. Bitter herbs are very good for stimulating the digestion, and they make heavy, rich, fatty meals a lot easier to digest, which is why in lots of cultures bitter tonics are used, or bitter aperitifs before meals. They get the gallbladder secreting bile, and they speed up the peristalsis, the little ripple-like movements that cause food to pass down through the gut, through the digestive system. And they also increase the secretion of pancreatic enzymes. Young violets too, both the leaves and the flowers. These can be good. And here we've got the sweet violet. And in fact, on a sunny day, there is a flavour a bit like the sweets known as Parma violets. And of course, that's where the original flavouring for them came from, going way back to Victorian times. So pretty. I don't want to take many flowers, but I will take some of the leaves. They've got a somewhat slippery ochre-like texture because they contain quite a lot of mucilage. Don't be tempted to eat the roots or the seeds of the violet. They are poisonous. But the flowers and the leaves are just fine. And I'm in luck here because I've found some more ground ivy. Probably won't wait to make herbal tea out of this when I get home. I'm just going to eat it now to get a bit more relief from my hay fever, but I'll also add some to the salad too. A little herb in the mint family with a square stem, and it's got no relationship to ivy whatsoever. A few unopened plantain buds. This ribwort plantain bud is now flowering. Can you see all of the little florets appearing in a ring around the bud? You don't want to eat them when they're like that. They are much more bitter and astringent and not so pleasant at all. Some really fresh young hawthorn leaves here. These are going to be really great. There we go. I think you'll all agree that this looks a lot more interesting than a plate of lettuce, and it's going to taste a lot more interesting too. And I had really great fun gathering it out in the sun, got plenty of exercise. Max did too, and I noticed he's got his throwing stick and ball in on the picture here. What do you reckon, Max? What do you reckon? You like the look of it? Yeah, me too, me too. Well, that's about it for today. I hope you can still see me because the little screen on my camera's just died. The battery's died on it, but I have faith that you can. I've had a lovely walk. Thanks for sharing it with me and with Max, of course.